Congresswoman joins us now live from Capitol Hill. It's good to have you on. What would you say about the answers today on this issue, particularly of due process?
Well, you know, I found that Secretary Noem was really disingenuous in her answers. She came with canned talking points. She was really not interested in having a true dialogue with the members of this committee about what was going on and answering and having accountability for the fact that the administration has completely avoided due process in this response. This is why the Supreme Court had to intervene.
There were a couple of other issues. One that I'll play a clip from was whether the agents, how they identify themselves when they come in and whether they should be, for example, wearing masks. Let's listen.
Well, ICE agents always identify themselves to individuals that they're encountering or that they're working with. What I would say as far as if they are wearing something over their faces, it's oftentimes because that agent has been involved in undercover operations. It is important that we follow the procedures and protocols for every encounter that we have, and they have done that.
Now, what was the point we were trying to get at there? Because to her point, I guess it seems legitimate to me to some extent, you got a law enforcement official, federal agent, if they're involved in undercover operations, maybe they wouldn't want to be identified. Is that not fair?
Well, then they shouldn't be on the front line making arrests. You know, when you're approached out of the blue by law enforcement and people who are wearing masks who are not properly identified as police and law enforcement, you're wondering, who the hell are you? What is their intention? Are they going to do me harm? And so I think it really creates a lot of terror in the minds of people, and it's confusing. And what we really don't want to have is vigilantes posing as law enforcement to try to terrorize people of color and people who find themselves in this situation. And on the flip side, what we don't want is in states like Texas, where we have concealed carry, anyone can carry a gun. We don't want somebody to accidentally shoot a law enforcement officer because they don't know who they are because they're not properly presented. One
more quick one for you, Congresswoman. Then I want to ask what the Democrats would do differently. I know there is a plan, so I'm going to talk about that right after Kristi Noem talking about the confrontation that we covered actually somewhat live on the show. It was breaking during our hours last week in Newark, New Jersey, when the mayor was arrested, and Noem testified about that today and said this.
The behavior was lawlessness, and it was beneath this body. Members of Congress should not break into detention centers or federal facilities. Had these members requested a tour, we certainly would have facilitated a tour.
So Mayor Ras Baraka was accompanied by Democratic members of Congress. Thoughts on this? And then we talk about the Democrats.
Well, the law is crystal clear that members of Congress have oversight responsibility for ICE, and they don't need an appointment, and it's not a tour. Many members offered into the record today the legal authority that clearly states, and Secretary Noem, under cross-examination by Democrats, clearly admitted that members of Congress do not need permission. We don't need to prearrange an appointment, and it's not a tour. We have an obligation to go in, and we have a legal right to inspect these facilities at any time of our choosing. So this tour thing is outrageous. This is not a tourist attraction. This is very serious matters. And the thing that just really kills me about all of this is these members of Congress, they were there to do their job. They didn't do anything inappropriate, but isn't it amazing how righteous these Republicans are, but yet they don't condemn the rioters that attacked the Capitol Police on January 6th. They even refused to put a plaque up honoring the determination of our Capitol Police. So this is completely disingenuous.
Let me give you one more on what the Democrats would do differently, though, on immigration big picture, because as we've also reported, these issues notwithstanding, the president's numbers, say for encounters on the border and things like that, have been something that he can point to as a positive. So what would the Democrats do on this? Well, Ruben Gallego, the senator from Arizona, put out this plan about increasing funding for Border Patrol agents, on and on, doesn't fully endorse the border wall, but does call for some barriers. So there's some things in there even the Democrats seem to think the president's getting right. Is that fair? What do you say about this?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm happy that border crossings are down. I think that's good for our country, and I support that. And I support funding for our Border Patrol. I agree with the senator that the wall funding is ridiculous. It's absurd. If you ever go to the border, you realize it's geographically impossible in so many areas. It's a complete waste of $46 billion. But what we really need to do is invest in quick processing and efficient processing, so when people present themselves for asylum to this country, they can get get a quick determination. This previous situation of releasing people for 5 years before an appointment is outrageous, and I would like to see that addressed. And so far, the Republicans are not addressing that, but I think that's critically important.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.